Welcome back to Cosmic Comics. Today I continue looking at Operation Knightstrike, Volume 1 with issue number 2 published in June of 1995. Writer Brian Whitten, penciler Richard Horry, inker Jamie Mendoza, colorist Gloria Vasquez, color separations Extreme Color, letter and associate editor Kurt Hathaway, editor Eric Stevenson, creator Rob Liefeld. Team Operation Knightstrike was assembled last issue. Now they gather at the Afghanistan-Pakistan border 50 miles east of Kabul. The team is led by Battlestone and consists of Duke, Frehley, Dutch, Al Simmons, and Chapel. As they begin their journey, these men are compared to Alexander the Great, whose army never made it home from these same lands. The team is here to extract helicopter pilots and retrieve documents. I find it odd that writer Brian Whitten has Chapel helping out a local business owner last issue, but this issue we see him portrayed as a bigot. Sure, people and characters can be complicated, but Chapel's insults toward their Afghan guide feel uncalled for. As the guide's son hands out disguises to help the group maintain a low profile, again Chapel acts like a jerk, yanking the robe from the kid's hands and pointing out that he isn't much more than a child. The guide is Roxanne, who insists that her son, Mujahadeem, come with them. Battlestone smooths things over once more, insisting that the group is honored to have their assistance. Chapel pours on the toxicity, now being sexist, complaining that women, you can't live with them, can't leave them on the curb at midnight. I'm not 100% sure what that is supposed to mean, but Battlestone has had enough as they ride their horses across the border. At Soviet command in Kabul, Soviet forces are being led by General Grozny. Of the captured helicopter pilots, only one remains alive, and he's proving difficult. It's then that we learn why this pilot is so important to rescue. He contains the mutant Nu gene, which is Rob Liefeld's Extreme Universe's version of Marvel's X gene. Basically, the pilot is a mutant. And as for the information the pilots carried, it's a list of Soviet military officers and diplomats who are conspiring with the Americans. These soldiers seems unclear as to why those individuals are not being pulled from command for treason. The general reminds the lieutenant that he should not rely on hearsay to thin their own ranks. What if that list is nothing more than a ruse by the Americans to cause confusion within the Soviet army? If the document is real, he suspects the Americans will send somebody to recover it, and the Soviets, they will be ready and waiting on them. As Knightstrike finds themselves moving across an open and vulnerable area, unknown to them they are being monitored by border bandits attempting to make a few dollars. The bandits, led by Zahir, step forward and demand everything: guns, ammo, and supplies. Bloodstone is prepared for a moment such as this, and has his crew pull out a gift, or bribe, or whatever you want to call it, for the passage over the border. It looks to be a case of ammunition. I'm not sure why this is going to work, as the guy at the beginning wanted everything. Bloodstone tells the group to stay cool, and again we see Chapel being a bigot, calling the bandits mummy heads. Is there something I'm missing on why Chapel appears to hate Muslims so much? Bloodstone brings over a box of ammunition, and upon opening the box, Zahir sees that a landmine has been placed directly under the lid, set to blow when the lid comes off the box. Zahir goes boom, and everybody except for Al Simmons opens fire. Al dives in to give Mujahadeem cover as a rocket lands nearby. Less than 10 seconds later, the battle is over. After the battle, Mujahadeem doesn't understand how Battlestone survived the blast which killed Zahir. Al explains that Battlestone is a Nu gene, which makes him stronger and faster than regular people. Roxanne shows a little bloodlust as she beheads what remains of Zahir. An entire page is given over to comparing the group to Alexander the Great once more. Traveling at night, they hear the sounds of incoming helicopters. Also, numerous ground vehicles are on the way. Battlestone calls for Frehley to pull out the big guns. The attack force is Russians who have just discovered the American incursion. The pilots are ready to kill some Americans. As they turn to take out Frehley, he pulls out a rocket launcher out of the end of his bedroll and shoots down the helicopter with a single shot. Afterwards, you can still see the bedroll with smoke coming out of it. It looks like Chapel would have been killed if not for some Matrix-like limbo moves. No direct hit, but his body is bombarded by shrapnel. Mujahadeem attempts to get away from his mother while she warns him not to play the hero. He's not, he's only trying to warn her about the incoming tanks. Battlestone uses his new gene strength to decimate one of the tanks with a massive boulder. Duke is pinned down by enemy fire but taking out lots of ground troops. Dutch needs some support to deal with a chopper coming down on him, so Stone tosses him a rocket launcher. Dutch destroys a helicopter and a ground transport vehicle with a single shot. That feels a little over the top. Elsewhere in the battle, Chapel calls for Roxanne to give him her rifle. She tells him to sit down and shut up, as she shows she can handle her own in a firefight. Al Simmons is being run down by a truck. As he runs away, he mentions he has a girl waiting for him back home. This would be Wanda Blake. Al drops a series of grenades behind him while he dives behind some rocks to escape both the blast and gunfire. Chapel makes certain Al is safe following the explosion before being attacked from behind. Before Chapel can act, he's saved by Mujahadeem, who finishes the Soviet off with a headshot. For saving his life and killing somebody, Chapel says Mujahadeem has a man's courage. I thought the kid would suck it up, but we see him run to the arms of his comforting mother. Bloodstone doesn't seem to care and reminds them that they need to get moving now that the Soviets know their position. By dusk, they have arrived at the outskirts of Kabul. Roxanne wishes the unit the best of luck. Battlestone wasn't aware she was leaving. She insists her contract is complete. The unit has been delivered to Kabul. She is going to leave before her son is subjected to more violence. And the issue wraps up with Chapel referencing his previous sexist remark. This comic had some decent action, but the only thing I learned is Chapel appears to be a huge asshole. It makes me wonder why Al Simmons would want to hang out with him. The second issue of this comic doesn't do much to move the story along and leaves with the group sitting outside of Kabul. I feel like they could have skipped this entire issue and we could have just jumped straight to issue 3 and picked up where this one ends. All that's missing is a couple of panels of exposition from the Russian general. This series ends next issue. Well, it finishes on a cliffhanger because it's never finished. And as much as I wanted to read this story when it came out, this is bad. So bad. Click like, hit subscribe, and keep watching Cosmic Comics. I'm out.